Welcome to the Career Backups Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Matt or Matthew King. Alongside me, I have Noah Presnell and Tyler North. Crazy weekend. I was kind of hate watching the Bills this weekend, so great weekend for me. Josh Allen, once again, doesn't get to a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson, so we live another year. But Patrick Mahomes is back in the Super Bowl. But the first game that I want to talk about with you guys was the Eagles beat the Commanders 55-23. The most points scored in the conference championship in NFL history, which beat Cam Newton's record, Noah. So sorry for your loss there as well. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, because Tyler brought this up earlier, is Jalen Hurts. Now, I've been very critical of Jalen in the past, but if you go, one thing I will say is you can be critical of him, but you can also take the information that you have and kind of change your opinion. I've always said that about opinions is the more information you get, you can obviously change it. And my opinion's kind of changing. Every single time Jalen Hurts has been in a big time situation, he's shown up. And I mean, Tyler saw my video earlier on TikTok, but in 8 games, he averages 200 passing yards, 50 rushing yards. He's 5-2 or 5-3 record. He has 18 touchdowns and 3 turnovers and now 2 Super Bowl appearances. I think it's time we give Jalen Hurts some respect because 2 Super Bowl appearances is a pretty big deal.
I'll give him his flowers in the sense where, yes, he's made it to back to back, but he's made it to 2 Super Bowls in basically a 3-year stretch. So, hats off to you there. Can't really take anything away from that. You're the quarterback of a Super Bowl team, of an NFC championship winning team. 200 yards passing in 8 playoff games, but he has 4 games of 150 or less. Also, you said that he had 18 touchdowns in the playoffs. He has 9 rushing touchdowns. You want to take a guess at how many of those 9 are from 2 yards or less?
Yeah, but how many times does he get them
7.
down there? How many times does he get them down there? He didn't have Saquon every year.
But if you're throwing for 150 or less, I mean, how many times are you really getting?
What did he do this weekend?
I mean, he had 1 throw, in my opinion. One big
throw.
The
A.J. Brown on 4th down?
A.J. Brown on 4th to 5. That was aided by a Saquon Barkley hold on Frankie Louvu, which you can nitpick here and there on every play if you want to, but it was pretty obvious that he completely held Louvu. I'm going to say this. I think that I said this last week, and I'll continue to say it. There is a core 4. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen. After that, it's completely up to grabs for that 5th spot. I'm still holding on to that Jaden Daniels spot. I think what he did this week, he had an interception down, 41-23. I'm not going to really hold that against him. Yeah. Other than that, he was incredible. His teammates let him down. His veterans let him down. Austin Eckler with the fumble. De'Ami Brown, I'm not really going to consider him a veteran by any sense, but he also had a fumble. So I don't think this is a knock against Jaden whatsoever. I think Jalen is the 6th best player on his offense.
The 6th.
The 6th.
Name the other 5.
A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so. Yeah.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata.
Oh,
Lane
more
Johnson.
than the quarterback?
Yes.
No,
yes.
I can't. There is no lineman except for Trent Williams in the league that is better than their quarterback.
At their respective position, where do they rank? Because he's the best. He's arguably the best left tackle in football.
All right, so you have 3. I want to hear your other 2. If you say
Johnson,
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, and I was going to say Dallas Goedert. But
okay. Dallas Goedert?
What Dallas Goedert had an incredible
Dallas
game.
Goedert's not even the top 5 tight end in the NFL.
What were his yards after catch this past week? That's like probably 50 to 60 of Jalen Hurts' yards right there is Dallas Goedert breaking tackles after the catch. Same thing last week in that game. He had a huge game breaking tackles. Okay, if you want to sit there and say that he's not the 6th best player, he's the 4th best player, I mean, how can we sit there and say a top 10 quarterback is the 4th best player on his own offense? I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is terrible at the quarterback position. I'm just saying the Eagles are in this position, not necessarily because of him.
I would agree there. I mean, it's kind of like what I said with Brock Purdy last year. I think that it's why I've always argued against wins as a quarterback stat, and unless the quarterback obviously contributes towards that win with an incredible game, or he is very turnover like Jared Goff was in the Lions game, where it's like, okay, there's definitely some blame that lies on his shoulders. Jalen Hurts does what is asked of him every Sunday. That's pretty much it, and that's fine. The Eagles are a really good team, but I think to say that there's not probably 8 other quarterbacks that could be in this Super Bowl if they played on this Eagles team is pretty disingenuous. I think there's 8 other dudes outside of the big 4 that would be in the same position if they were quarterback, which is
right.
fine. Yeah.
Right, but at the same time, Jalen's doing it. You can't discredit him being on a good team.
Yeah,
and
no,
he
sure.
took this team 2 years ago. I mean, they didn't have Saquon.
Yeah.
And he was in that. We talked about it. He was an MVP candidate. And I'll also stand on this. And for me to be a top 10 quarterback, I feel like, and Noah has said this before, is you have to have the playoff success too. I feel like that is part of your legacy. It's a big part of your legacy. And there's not many quarterbacks in the NFL better than Jaden in the playoffs. Or Jalen, excuse me. I mean, Jalen in the Super Bowl had one of the greatest quarterback performances we have ever seen from a losing effort other than Tom Brady. And when you needed Jalen in the biggest spot to A.J. Brown, he made the most perfect throw you can make. And in those big spots, it's hard to say that he's not a top 10 quarterback because I don't see him fail in those big spots very often. When he's called upon, he does what he's needed to do. Do you need him the entire game? Absolutely not. But when you need your quarterback to show up in these pivotal moments, Jalen Hurts has done that every year.
He takes questionable sacks, in my opinion, that knocks him out of field goal range countless times. You want to talk about the Super Bowl? Great. He had a great performance and great stats.
And he fumbled.
And
it's
he had a
come
fumble
up.
that was a scoop and score. Like, you have to – as much as I want to – look, I think we can agree to disagree on this. I don't think that I probably am. But, like, I really don't want to sit here and say I'm discrediting Jalen Hurts. I just don't want to give him as much credit as probably you want to give him, if that makes sense.
I
can't sit here and look at this and say Jalen Hurts is the reason that they're in the Super Bowl and the reason they're winning these games.
He's not a reason?
I mean, I give him like
okay. Let me tell you this too. I kind of have thoughts on
this. Maybe like
this is another thing too. Is the tush push was a big discussion,
yeah.
And we've kind of been haters about the tush push. But after watching Buffalo yesterday attempt it, I mean, I don't think the play should be banned anymore just because you have a quarterback that is way bigger than Jalen Hurts is. And I know Jalen Hurts squats 500 pounds. And what were they yesterday? 0 for 4 on quarterback sneaks or tush pushes?
Two for 5.
I mean, is that a talent that Jalen brings to this offense? I mean, yes, obviously that it's not a hard play to run, but is it harder than maybe what we thought? Like, does the tush push go with anybody in the NFL? Because I think the Bills have a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. I say they're closer to Philly offensive line-wise. I feel like maybe that's an attribute we have to give to Jalen now, just because we've seen other teams not succeed with it.
The Bills definitely have the continuity on the line, for sure. Like, those guys, I think they had the most combined starts out of any team in the NFL this year on the offensive line. I think the one thing that a lot of people are going to argue with banning the tush push is the people from behind pushing him into the end zone. I tend to agree with that. I think that should be outlawed, that it should only be on the quarterback, because then we get back into, if you remember way back in the day, I don't even know if you guys were alive, Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush pushing Matt Leinart in USC.
How young do you think we are, bro?
I mean, pretty daggone. I just feel like I'm old. That's not a knock against you. I think I was just self-depriving myself there. But I think that is the one thing that people are going to argue, is that when they're pushing them from behind, I think that should be outlawed. However, yes, after watching what Buffalo did on those 4th and goals or 4th and 1s, and to see them be stopped, allegedly, to see them be stopped countless times, again and again and again, and then to see the Eagles have so much success with it, it's just something that they have mastered, whether it's Kelsey, whether it's Dickerson, whether it's Cam Jurgens. It doesn't matter, because you're right. That is something that Jalen does have, and it's that lower torso. I think Josh's height really is a negative to him in that regard, because Jalen is smaller but more stout, where it's kind of just like a bowling ball trying to be pushed across for a yard or two. And it's definitely a benefit to them. It's something that they figured out, and we see it every year when the Chiefs and the Bills play in the playoffs, and the Chiefs inevitably beat the Bills. There's always somebody that wants to say, "Oh, we got to change the rules." And I saw Mike Florio talking about it as well. We need to change the rules. We need to do this. It's just like with the tush push. Whenever the tush push is successful, everybody's like, "We got to outlaw this. We got to switch the rules." Just because one team is doing something that other teams aren't doing, we have this knack in society where we would just want to automatically ban it. I don't think we should ban it. I think the pushing from behind is the part that might end up getting outlawed.
It's just boring. It's so boring. And like as a Panthers fan, like Cam Newton holds that record, and you can go back and watch a 2013 Cam Newton 1 yard line run for a touchdown. It looks completely different. Man's jumping over 8 human beings to get 6 points, and Jalen Hurts just falls for it.
Right, but if Cam was running that play, would you still hate it?
I mean, that's just not how it. That's not who's running.
That's how it
it's
works.
Jalen Hurts, so it's
right. But is that because you hate the play, or you hate how much Philly is good at it? That's the question.
Cam Newton's took talent, and Jalen Hurts doesn't. Is what I'm saying.
Well, so I'm not even talking about those two. But do you hate the play, or do you hate how successful it is?
I mean, I guess it's a combination of both. But I mean, like we've said, it's not everyone in the league is amazing at it. I think the league success rate is around like 82% or something like that, which isn't, it's high, but that's not extremely high for a play that should guarantee a yard. It's probably in the mid 90s for the Eagles on picking up a yard. I don't think you could ban it just because it works, but I think there should be an asterisk whenever he does break the record. It's going to piss me off.
I do want to ask this question on the other side of the ball. What was Washington's, I mean, it's on the same side of the ball. What was Washington's game plan in defending Shayshawn Barkley?
Shayshawn?
Because if you look at the stats in 3 games that Shayshawn had against Washington, I'll call him Saquon, but that video trips me out every time.
It was a really good video.
I love Shayshawn Barkley. We had him on the Giants, and now we got him on the Eagles. 70 carries, 414 yards, 7 touchdowns in 3 games against Washington. So he blitzed you for 150, I think, the first time, blitzed you for 146 the second time. You didn't have anything. I mean, one first play, he goes for 62 yards. I just got to wonder. I was listening to a couple talk shows today. Opening kickoff, Luke McCaffrey fumbles it. I mean, I know he recovered it, and I think he returned it or kneeled it or whatever. But that right there, it's just like, these guys aren't ready for this moment. And I definitely wonder if on the defensive side, they were just in shell shock. And it goes back to the previous offensive possession, the first offensive possession of the game. They had it 4th and 3. Do you think Washington should have went for it instead of kicking that field goal?
No.
Because you agree with kicking the field goal?
Yeah, I agreed in that scenario. You went for it twice. It was a long 4th and 3. You're in Philadelphia. It's going to be really hard to get it 3 times in a row. I'm fine with the points in that scenario. If they were down by like 10 points, I would have hated it. But in that scenario, opening drive, I'm fine with it.
I agree with you.
I just think the Commanders' team is just void of talent on the defensive side. I mean, that's nothing new. We've seen it all year. The difference as of late or in big moments was they were making big plays. Yes, they might have given up 28 points, but when that sack was needed, Frankie Louvu was there. We saw it in the playoffs where Jeremy Chin, I think, had an interception in the first. So, like, it was just – it's not like they were holding opponents to, 250 yards total offense and 14 points. They were still giving up big plays and stuff. They just made the big defensive plays when they needed them to. And with the run game and controlling the trenches like the Eagles do, it's very hard to an interception is much easier to do than forcing a fumble on Shayshawn Barkley. That's going to be tough to do. Okay?
Is that what this podcast is going to freaking call him from now on?
Shayshawn,
Is that like
Shayshawn?
Do you hate Saquon though, Tyler?
No. Look, I literally have it in.
He's
my
a big
notes.
Maryland fan, by the way, Noah. And he owned Maryland.
Yeah.
Yes,
Gotcha.
obviously he did. But every Penn State football player owns Maryland, so I can't really hold that against him. Like it is what
they
it is.
call that a rivalry. That's like rivalry week.
I had in my notes. Ready for this?
Okay.
It's a shame because I love Shayshawn and think he is incredible, but I can't root for him because he's on the Eagles. I will never waver away from this. I will always hate Philly. I will always hate the Eagles. It doesn't matter what happens. That's the one thing you'll find out with me is that I am very consistent with my hatred toward Philly. And it's not going to change next week or in 2 weeks.
So you're rooting for Kansas City?
100%. My wife's from Kansas City. I mean, I kind of don't have a choice, but
I'm
absolutely.
rooting for him.
There's one team in the NFL that I cannot stand. I mean, I don't really like the Chiefs, don't get me wrong, but I cannot stand Philly. And the fact that they're in this spot in this moment just grinds my gears even more because I cannot stand it. The one thing I'm going to say, this game was 34-23 with a minute left in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was not that much of a blowout as what it seemed like.
Washington had it on the 50-yard line. I mean, they get a first down there in field goal range, essentially. Eckler fumbles. If Eckler doesn't fumble, you got to wonder if Washington gets into field goal range, kicks it, makes it a one-possession game. Who knows at that point? I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to win the game, but they already had 2 fumbles at that point in time, had already shot themselves in the foot, were already down in the turnover margin, and still almost had it to a one-possession game. I think Philly still ends up winning. I'm not taking that away from them, but it is something to wonder about that, you know, I mentioned it last week. Turnovers dictated the games last week. Turnovers dictated this game. 4-0 in the turnover category.
Yeah, you're not going to win a game like that.
Not against that defense.
No.
I mean, go ahead.
With Shayshawn running like he was, I mean, it was when you're giving up that many rushing yards and can do what you want at will, and then you're still giving up a couple of chunk plays in the passing game, like it doesn't really matter what you do unless you're going to force a couple turnovers. I think even if they score instead of fumbling the ball, it doesn't really matter. They still ice the game. They were just moving it too easily.
I guess my question, I'm calling him Saquon. I'm not calling him that. Is Saquon Barkley the best running back? I personally think he's the best running back, at least of this generation. I think the conversation of him being one of the greatest of all time, like if they go and win this Super Bowl, and a big reason of that is Saquon Barkley, and let's say he wins
on his birthday.
Yeah, let's say he wins Super Bowl MVP. Like, does that discussion start now? Because I don't know, in a league that has gotten so far away from the run game and defenses have gotten so much more complex, I just feel like this is an era that is the toughest for running backs. And I feel like, I mean, you can compare this with any sport, but I mean, with the way Barkley's able to catch the ball out of the backfield and able to do what he does on the ground, I don't know. I feel like by the time he retires, we might have a conversation if he was the most talented running back we've ever seen, maybe next to Barry Sanders.
I think he's the best athlete I've probably ever seen in the NFL. And that's coming from a guy that's a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan and watched Adrian Peterson break 2,000 yards and put the team on his back and take him to the playoffs. The one thing I really wonder, and this is obviously hypothetically, but let's go back to draft day. If somebody besides the incompetent New York Giants drafted him, like let's say I don't know, the Broncos or somebody like that drafts him, what's his career look like at this point? Because, I mean, obviously he got injured, but you're talking,
I mean, those injuries came because of bad offensive lines, too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And you're playing in New York on the turf and everything else.
But also the team in such turmoil, just there isn't that urge and want to really force yourself to get back out there if you are injured. Whereas if you're on a contending team or on a team that's, hovering around that 500 mark, you're going to do everything you can to get back out on that field, whether or not you're risking injury or not. But with that situation, it's like, why would I go back if my team is 3-12 at this point in the year? Why am I going to go back for this next game, this last game, and force injury? I just think that if you look back at that is something that has completely changed the entire NFL because or his career and his argument for the Hall of Fame. I still think he's going to get there. He's got to stay healthy. Obviously, it's going to be the big if. But you mentioned that, this has completely turned into a passing game league. I think this year really turned a lot because you've got him, you've got Derrick Henry, you've got Josh Jacobs. These are all guys that were free agents, Joe Mixon as well, guys that were free agents that signed with respective teams and really became kind of focal points of those teams and of their offenses and brought back the running game and showed that it's okay to pay running backs top dollar. I agree. The notion over the last 5 to 7 years has been do not pay running backs, do not draft running backs high, do not do any of that. This year, are we just looking at those guys as like unicorns, or is it kind of, the pendulum kind of swinging back toward a 50-50 league?
I'm still against paying running backs. They're way too easy to replace, and their shelf life is way too short to be commanding too much cap space on a team. I just We look at.
I mean, as a Christian McCaffrey guy, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he,
Well, he hated that at the time, to be
I know
fair.
that's
the
what I
reason
mean.
a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so much cap space tied up in that man, and it was like when he was on the field, great. But even his MVP year, the year that he was in conversation with the Panthers, where he had 1,000, so he had a 2,000 all-purpose yard season. We were terrible. I mean, we were bad. It didn't matter, if Saquon Barkley rushed for 2,000 yards and the Eagles were, 8 and 9, it's kind of a different story. Now, he is the focal point of the offense, but the thing, too, is with the Eagles, you take out Saquon's year and you look at the past 3 years, their running backs are averaging about 5 yards a carry. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 years ago, they kind of had the injury bug going around, so a lot of their running backs weren't playing, and Jalen Hurts was the leading rusher. But outside of that, you had Miles Sanders. I mean, the Panthers paid him good money because they thought he was a guy. DeAndre Swift. I mean, the Eagles' offensive line gets running backs paid. They go off somewhere and they stink afterwards. Now, obviously, Saquon Barkley is way more talented, way more athletic, is an actual good running back. But it's hard for me to sit here and say that when they've had success with running backs who have went on somewhere else and just not been as good. So
I do agree with you that running backs do benefit from being behind that line.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a guy. It was the perfect marriage. It really was.
No, it definitely was.
Coming into this season, I absolutely thought, he's going to have a great year. I mean, you were looking when we were drafting with fantasy, it was like him or Jonathan Taylor, that back end of the first, early in the second round. I mean, that's a joke at this point. You absolutely should have been taking him early on in the first. I think the injury concerns are something that did scare people away. But now we understand that the Giants were never able to use this guy's full potential. And now we're seeing it on full display because they couldn't, because they didn't have a line, because they didn't put the pieces around him.
I just feel like the running back position is the most dependent on every other single position in the offense. You have to have a good passing game or people are going to stack the box. No one's scared of Danny Dimes and whatever 3 Walmart employees they're lining up at wide receiver in New York. You know what I'm saying? So what do? You stack the box, you stop Saquon. You stack the box against the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is capable of slinging the ball. I mean, he didn't have a great year, but he can throw it. And you've got 2 elite weapons on the outside and a great tight end. So you kind of have to pick your poison. Okay, are we going to let Saquon run all over us? Are we going to try to stack the box? Are we going to let Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown go for 200 yards combined? So they're just a well-built machine that allows any player to step in on that offense and play well.
Right, but I have a different perspective, though. With Derrick Henry coming to the Ravens, Baltimore got worse on their offensive line, but their running game got significantly better. He had 1,900 yards, while Gus Edwards, with one of the best Ravens offensive lines in the past 5 years, couldn't even hit 1,000. So I feel like running backs like Saquon and Derrick Henry, they really do bring that extra dynamic that can take you. They're so much more than a running back now. Now teams do have to stack the box. Now it opens up more for your passing game. If you're a little bit less like Baltimore is on the outside, it opens so much more up for those guys. So, and the same, you can say the same about Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. They kind of help the running backs as well. But do the running backs help them too? I just feel like it's an important position to a point. I feel like the value needs to be there because we're acting like Saquon Barkley got $20 million a year. He got $12 million, and Derrick Henry got $7 or $8 million. So, would I be willing to pay that? Yes, but I feel like if the market gets crazy again, like with the Todd Gurleys and all of those a couple years ago, it's just going to fall off again because people are not going to see the value. But right now, they are valuable because you're getting them at a good price. If it goes up, and that's exactly why Saquon wasn't sought after for 2 years, and that's why he stayed with New York, where he got franchise tagged, and then he went and stayed anyway. I just feel like it's more the value than it is the running backs being so damn good. I just feel like they would have never gotten that value.
Yeah.
One thing, put some respect on Darius Slayton's name.
He's been awful.
Darius Giants Slayton. Wide receiver. No, I'm kidding.
First round pick 5 years ago.
I thought you said Darius. I thought you said Darius Slay.
No, Slayton. No, the one thing when you were making that comparison between Gus Edwards and Derrick Henry and talking about the Ravens' offensive line, Gus Edwards is here, Derrick Henry's up here. The Ravens' line was probably here, and it probably went to here. It didn't get that much worse. It definitely took a couple hits, but the running back just went so much above and beyond better than that. And that's where you have to have that meld. It's like we have to have a good enough offensive line. And the offensive line at least has to be competent when you have a star-studded running back. Because if you don't, you're going to run into a situation like the Giants. And then if you have a star-studded line, you still have to have somebody back there that is a playmaker in the backfield. The other thing I want to say, because I know we're running up here on time, I just want to give a round of applause to the Commanders on this season. Like, I mean, what they did this year, you can sit there and you can shake your head. To go from arguably the worst team in football to a Final Four team in 1 year.
No, I agree.
That team is going in the right direction. I think that their future is the brightest. I think you talked about it, Matt, that they might be the next dynasty in football. They got
no. I said Detroit.
Chance.
They have a. I do believe that the Commanders have a chance to win multiple Super Bowls, but that I have to see what everybody is. It's not even Jaden. Everybody's already crowning this front office, when in reality it was the coaching staff that got the most out of the players. Like, you cannot convince me that Bobby Wagner and Austin Eckler were good signings this offseason. Yeah, I don't care how efficient they were. To me, are they actually going to go out with all this cap space and make moves? Because we've seen teams not do it or overpay guys because they have so much money they don't know what to do with it. We have a first-time GM. Like, I need to see the front. I know what the coaching staff and Jaden can do. I need to see if the front office is actually about winning and actually about paying the right people and doing it the correct way. Because the worst thing that the Commanders can do is go out and spend every single dollar on these star players that end up being shit in 2 years.
The Jags
are the perfect example of that. And I just hope they don't turn into a team like that, because then you start spiraling and then Jaden's time is wasted. So I'm not going to say 100% they're automatically going to go to the NFC Championship next year. I think they should slow build this thing. I don't think it should be a automatic let's go all in on all the star players available. I just don't agree with that concept.
So basically you're saying they've got the keys to the Lambo, but they got to know how to drive it.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I would put it. But there is one more thing I did want to touch on this game, is what is the point of replay assist if you're not going to use it? I'm so damn sick of it, dude. That Devontae Smith catch on the sidelines was an obvious non-catch. And that is a bit, I know the game was 55 to whatever, but at the same time, that was such a pivotal drive for Philadelphia. And why do we even have it when you don't? They use it on the stupidest plays, like where a guy went out of bounds, but they won't use it on a huge catch in the NFC Championship game. Like, I don't understand what they do with it, but obviously it works. And when it does work, I love it because it makes the game go faster. You get the right call. But if you're not going to call, I'm just not understanding the process and what they do there.
So I guess my question back to that would be, do you want them anytime there's anything ever in doubt? Like, because if you remember, I think with the play that we're talking about here, Devontae Smith, his second foot, I think, was touching the white on the sideline. The Eagles got up and hiked the ball pretty quickly. I think there was like still 30 plus left on the play, at least 25 left on the play clock. So I guess my point there is, how quickly are they able to get down? Like, if there had been 15 or 10 left on the play clock and they didn't blow it, I can understand that. But I think the Eagles did what they needed to do to essentially get by replay assist and go up and snap the ball quickly to avoid that. Just like you would if a team wants to try and challenge something. Just like you would inside 2 minutes if they're going to automatically review it. I think that I get what you're saying, because it is aggravating that it's like, this is clear and obvious that this is not a catch. Why are we not blowing the whistle? Somebody needs to do that automatically.
I mean, I'm showing the play now. I mean,
right.
Being that close, even if he was in bounds, why are we not taking a look at it? I think if it's such a pivotal game and it's that close, if there is any question, I feel like it needs to be addressed. I just feel
for this.
Go ahead.
Ready? I think it should go one or two ways. One, every single thing should be reviewed. There should be like a head honcho ref.
Like a sky cam.
Some ref that calls down. The refs on the field are almost just for decoration. They're just there to like voice to the crowd and stuff. Some ref comes down and goes, yep, that's a hold. Yep, that's pass interference. Yep, that's roughing the passer. Or We go back to like the 80s. We do away with all the camera angles. We do away with super slow-mo. And if we're going to say it is up to the refs' determination of how they interpret the rules, then that's how it should be, because that's how it used to be. Stuff like this used to happen all the time. You just didn't have 19 angles in 4K zoomed in on someone's pinky toe to see if they're out of bounds. Let's just go back to that.
Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, there would be no more complaining. Just say, okay, there's no more camera angles, there's no more reviews. That's what the ref said. That's what it
that's
is.
like, but
All or nothing.
Yep.
do you remember baseball and how that was before the replay? I love baseball way more now because of it.
Okay. So have you seen what minor league baseball did this past season with the
Yeah,
robot
with the
umpires?
with the
With the
strike
robot-
cam.
Right. So is that?
But
where you
that's
wanna get
different.
to?
That we're
No.
now that's apples
Is
to
it?
oranges.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
apples to apples. Do you know why people are so up in arms about how bad umpires are now? Because now on MLB broadcast, they have the strike box sitting there on television, so you can see it. That used to not be a thing back in the day. It would just be sitting there.
And
like
it's
you were at the
not
game.
accurate.
Yeah,
It's
no.
not
No,
anywhere
it's
near
the same
accurate.
for every batter, and the box changes for every batter, but not on that box. It is the same every single time. No one complained until they had that graphic on TV. It's the same thing. It's like adding different things to allow us to see.
So
the
just
rules
get
in
rid
real
of the refs entirely.
time. Nah, keep the refs. Get rid of all that camera angles. I don't need to see it. I'll just believe you. That makes it fun.
It might
That's what makes
might
it fun.
actually do something, because
Yeah.
then you have no idea. I feel like I don't know. I feel like back in the 2000s they didn't have all that, and you just wouldn't know. Like you'd
Yeah,
just be
just
like,
didn't
well,
know.
it looked like a bad call to me, but
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even know for days.
I think the non-discretionary calls. I think that they need to be a little bit quicker on the replay assists if
Yeah.
they're going to implement that. I definitely
It's
agree.
so easy though.
If-
How
if-
easy
unless,
is it?
Unless we go with Noah's all or nothing method. If we go with that, then that's a different story. But if we're
I'm
gonna-
kind of on. I thought it was dumb at first, but I think you're cooking up something there.
The only thing is, if we go back to what they did in the '80s, these quarterbacks are not
They're
going to
dead.
have heads. They're not going to have heads.
I think maybe it should just be personal fouls reviewed, because like the Vikings had that face mask. that
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
called.
but Sam Darnold in the end zone, and the defensive player even knew
Yeah.
he committed the face mask penalty and walked away. I think it was might have been Jared Verse, but walked away like with his hands on his helmet, knowing he
knew.
did it, and there was
Yeah.
nothing called. So I think that even though that's a discretionary penalty, I mean that's a clear and obvious penalty. But then we get into the conversation about what is pass interference, what isn't pass interference,
Yeah.
what is. A
Yeah,
hold,
remember
what
when
isn't
they
a hold.
reviewed that? That was terrible.
Oh, exactly. Because that's
was
what
awful.
we do as society is when something happens like that, like what happened in New Orleans with the Rams and the Saints, and there was no flag called, we like to overreact and
That was
implement
clean.
crazy rules like we've done. And we can probably segue into the next game because I do want to talk about referees.
Well,
and things of that
one more
nature.
thing. I have to let this. I have to say this. Marshawn Lattimore was the worst trade acquisition at the trade deadline, and everybody just thinks that he was on the Commanders all year. Dude, they gave up. I went and looked back at that trade. They gave up their 3rd, 4th, and 6th round picks in 2025 for him. His coverage EPA was the worst I've ever seen in playoff hit, a plus 13.6. He helped the other team EPA wise 13.6 points. And his passer rating was 137, and he got into a fight with AJ Brown, and then had the damn.
How is that not a pass? How is that not a penalty on AJ Brown?
No, I agree. But when you go up into the face mask first, you're gonna
Sure, but it
lose
should
that
have been
battle.
offsetting. It should have been offsetting. Like
I
that's-
agree,
that's
but if someone
ridiculous
does,
that only
if you
one gets called.
initiate it though, if you initiate it, you're not gonna win that battle. Never gonna win that battle. But I don't think the Commanders get scrutinized enough. I understand they had to made the trade, but that's what I'm talking about.
They had to get. You know why they had to get a cornerback?
Yeah, because
the
of
previous-
Emmanuel Forbes.
Because
he
of
was
the previous
awful.
regime taking Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez. That's the whole reason why that ended up happening.
Yeah,
Is
but
because-
that's why I get scared about with the Commanders. They have all this draft capital, all this salary cap, and they're just like, whatever, we need it. Like that, because Baltimore was actually in on Marshawn Lattimore, and they thought a deal was done. At least the report said. And then last minute, the Commanders gave up whatever they could to get him. So, like, are they going to get desperate? That's
Well,
why I'm worried about the
I have
Commanders.
to be easy on them because I thought they messed up getting rid of Sam Howell. So
Yeah, I was a big Sam Howell believer too.
I was
So.
too. But
That's a Carolina boy.
yeah, yeah.
All right, the Chiefs defeat the Bills for the 4th time in a row in the playoffs. 32-29, we get an absolute classic again. Yeah, I want your guy. I'll let you guys go first on your thoughts on this game, and then I'll let all my feelings out. But I hope you guys keep the same energy you guys did last week because I can't wait for this conversation. So go ahead. I'll leave the floor to one of you and how you felt about this game.
For Josh Allen as we did Lamar?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Josh Allen.
Seven turnover worthy plays
Yes.
that did not go his way, but Lamar throws a bad pick.
Rack it
Lamar
up,
throws
Matt.
a
Rack it
bad
up.
pick, but Josh Allen throws it right to the defender four
baiting
different
right
times. I'm not baiting. I'm not. If they catch that pass, it's the same thing if Lamar threw a bad pass and it wasn't caught. It is the same exact thing. Josh, and also turnover-worthy plays kill drives. It kills your entire momentum. Josh Allen was a huge reason why they lost that game, and everybody's just going to talk about his throw to Curtis Samuel. He shit his absolute pants in the first half. He played like dog shit, and nobody talks about it. But when Lamar plays a bad half and goes down with a minute left and tries to tie the game, but Josh Allen can't go down with 3 minutes left, we have a whole different conversation. So I'll leave the floor to you guys, but that's how I feel. I don't think Josh is getting scrutinized enough for just because his defense played bad.
I'll let you go, Noah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna defend Matt, so I want you to go.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll go first because there's a very key main difference here. Lamar's been perennially ass in the playoffs. That's the difference. He has been historically bad. Josh Allen has not. Josh Allen in the 4 games against the Chiefs is averaging almost 29 points a game. His defense is giving
his offense is averaging 29 points a game. That's not a Josh Allen stat entirely.
Okay, anyways, if it was Lamar's stat, it would be Lamar.
You can't, wait.
So
you can't sit there and say Jalen Hurts.
Okay, anyways, the Bills' offense, when Josh Allen has been the quarterback against the Chiefs the past 4 losses, has averaged 28 points. Their defense has given up almost 35. If you look at his stats compared to Mahomes, he's thrown 50 less yards. They both have thrown combined for 11 touchdowns, and he has 0 turnovers in those 4 games.
Well, 0 turnovers. That's where it starts hurting my brain because he is the most lucky. The fumble, the multiple fumbles, the one where he dove over, the one that was right in his hands, he got a couple bounces his way, but Lamar throws the same exact ball, fumbles the same exact way, and we're scrutinizing him because it was an actual turnover, but Josh got lucky.
Well,
so he doesn't get any scrutiny because he was lucky.
You know what the saying is, right?
Turnovers, what?
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah, that's not the same. We're
Hey
not.
man,
we're
it's
comparing.
2025.
I mean, he's not.
We're comparing apples to oranges here. He played just as bad. He did, and he had the ball with 3 minutes left in the game
we can
to go and
scrutinize
tie
him
it.
for not winning the game at the end. Like he didn't step up at the end of the game when he had a chance to tie it. They didn't. Now they did get away from the run, which was very successful late in the game. I don't think James Cook touched the ball the last 6 plays that they had.
Nope.
He should have. But to sit here and act like someone who was like 65% on the day, 220 yards, couple touchdowns, no turnovers, and act like he's as bad as a dude who had a 10-point swing in turnovers last week.
I mean, if a ball bounces one way or another,
if he throws a pick, guess what? We are having that conversation, but he didn't.
So because the guy dropped it, we're not having the conversation.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to say
doesn't make
this.
sense.
The one thing I'm going to say is this. First of all, Josh Allen probably has to be telling Holmes, "Daddy, chill."
Yeah.
But what I will say about the fumble. Yes, there were 5 fumbles in this game, but Buffalo recovered every single one.
Yeah.
Like, that is the bounce of the ball that goes the right way for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
You have that happen. You have the ball down 3 with 3 timeouts and 3 minutes left in the game with a chance to go down to tie it or take the lead. Remember last year in the playoffs? They had the same exact situation. Tyler Bass missed a field goal. Josh Allen was not able to get his team in the end zone on that possible game-winning drive. These are, in my opinion, quote-unquote, legacy moments that he did not capitalize on. That first drive of the game, he had 2 passes that very well could have been picked off that I know Matt's talking about.
Could have been picked off 3 times.
They go 3 and out. They punt. The Chiefs get the ball. They go down, score a touchdown. The Chiefs end up getting the ball back after half. After the Chiefs scored a touchdown, they had a 65% chance to win the game at that point in time. You cannot give the Kansas City Chiefs a 65% chance to win because they're going to do it every single time. Why was this game a pick'em? I said this last week. If you're going to give me Mahomes,
Why didn't you put your mortgage on it?
I probably should have. But if you are gonna give me Mahomes at less than a field goal favorite or an underdog in the playoffs, he's gonna win. And you're giving me that at home? He's absolutely gonna win. Now that he is 4-0 against Josh in the playoffs. He's beaten him every time. The past performances by Josh, I don't necessarily put on him as to the reason why the Bills lost. This one,
I agree.
I kind of do put on him. I think that Travis Kelce had 2 catches in this game. I mean, they gashed the Chiefs' defense on the ground. James Cook was running wild. And you mean to tell me that they didn't win this game? They had everything going in their favor, in my opinion. You want to sit there and say that 4th and 1 where he could have gotten the first down.
I still don't think he got it.
He was short. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't understand what
and
people.
This is the same. And this is the same thing with the Xavier Worthy catch. That real quick, the 4th down play. If you call that a first down on the field and you go back to review it, there's no way you overturn it. You call it, it stands and it's a first down.
I agree.
The play with Xavier Worthy, if you call that as stands, I don't think you can overturn that. If you want to say that's an incomplete pass, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. Because if it is an incomplete pass, it's a hold on Buffalo. It's a first down for Kansas City. Kansas City probably just runs the clock out and kicks a field goal and goes into half and gets the ball back. So they have 3 more points than the Bills did in the last 3 minutes of the first half. What inevitably happens? The Chiefs end up getting the first down. They score a touchdown, and then what did the Bills do? They went down and scored the touchdown, so it neutralized it, and it ended up being a 0-point differential. So really and truly, the Xavier Worthy catch benefited Buffalo. However you want to look at that, they ended up coming out unscathed from that completely. And that is the most aggravating part to me, because Buffalo had everything go in their favor and still could not win the game. What has to happen for Buffalo to get over the hump? What is the difference between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson right now? I'm taking Lamar Jackson. You want to know why? Because one guy's got some hardware and the other doesn't. Josh Allen has 0 trophies. He does not have a Super Bowl trophy. He does not have an AFC Championship trophy. He does not have a Super Bowl
wild
MVP
card
trophy.
merchant.
And as of right now, he does not have a MVP in the NFL, which Lamar does have. He also cannot win on the road in the playoffs. He just can't. Lamar at least has won in Tennessee. He's won a road game in the playoffs. Has Josh? No. All he does is win at home.
Ryan Tannehill.
Chill out.
It's still a win. It's still a win on the road.
I love it. I love this. I'm here.
I am with Matt because all I heard today was,
oh, boo-hoo, Josh Allen, boo-hoo. Yeah, I'm so sick of that shit. And they say Lamar's coddled. Holy shit. Josh Allen is the most coddled quarterback I've ever seen. It's boo-hoo. He lost again in Kansas City. Then win the fucking game. Like you had 3 minutes to go. And he missed Shakir on the swing route, which was the entire...
Okay.
That was where the ball was supposed to go.
No, because Shakir was 15 yards from the first down. Me and my buddies were talking about this today. I originally was on your side.
And he was wide open.
And then one of my friends really and truly did convince me. He is 15 yards away. If he passed it, by the time that he would have looked over there, the defenders would have collapsed on there because Amenahu was dropping back, or Mike Dana was dropping back, and he would have eventually gotten to Shakir, and I don't think there's any chance that he gets the first down. I've seen the replays. I think it was Warren Sharp or one of the other guys showing the replays of previous
let's look at it. Let's just look at it, and we can make our decisions together.
Yards.
We can do this together.
If we're going to talk about this play, though, I think it's also fair to say that the pass hit him in the hands. Like, we're acting like this.
Okay, but we're acting like it's like a super. It was like a punt. We're acting like it was a tough catch. I still think it was a really tough catch. I don't think.
Catch. Yeah, I'm not. Saying
they're trying to make it act like it was like the market. Where is everybody though?
Go back. But at this point in time, Josh Allen is completely under duress and he cannot look back.
Right. I have another argument though. Before the play, which RG3 called this out, he did not switch this protection on the right side, which the quarterback is fully responsible for. And RG3 went to depth about how he could have brought somebody inside to be able to protect that right side. He knew this blitz was coming. So why did he not switch the play or switch the protection? That is on the quarterback. You know a blitz is coming. You know they've been absolutely dominating you there up front, and you don't make a change.
In the previous instances of this orbit play, you will see the defensive back go with Shakir. Here, the defensive backs stay home. So he completely thinks that he does not have that because the DBs are staying home. That's exactly what happened. And you can see the defensive back right here. I can't do it on my screen. Mike Dana is dropping back into coverage. And if Josh immediately throws it to Shakir, Mike Dana is going to completely switch his direction, and Watson, 35. So 35 is absolutely going to see that happen and probably make the play or keep him contained. And then I think Dana's 91. He drops back, and he's going to be able to come up and make the play. Look at where he is on the field. Look at where Shakir is, how far away he is from that first down. You really
even if Josh lobs this ball up, Shakir is getting there.
Right there is the only instance where I think it makes sense. But he's completely at his back. He's completely at his 6 o'clock at that point. Does Josh know exactly that Shakir is there? Because what he would have to do is pirouette on 1 foot, turn around, and throw it behind him, essentially, is what he would have to do.
And he's still getting there.
Yeah, but he would have to complete the pass.
Yeah, but either way, if he switches the protection, Kincaid is wide open for a big play.
What protection do you want him to have here? They're showing 6.
Yes.
There's 5 offensive linemen. It was some trips left, and the halfback is in a motion. What do you want him to spawn a 6th lineman between his ass cheeks to block? Here's what happens in this play. Whenever you're lining it up, you sit here and you say, okay, they're showing 6. One is coming hot from somewhere, so you pick a side to slide to. Now, should he have picked the right side? Yes. But it's a 50-50 there. Both blitzers end up coming from the right side and giving interior pressure. What you're supposed to do when a blitz comes is you're supposed to throw to the blitz. Shakir's on the opposite side of the blitz, and he's to his back. So he's just doing his best to keep the play alive and get the ball downfield.
All right, listen to this real quick. Can you guys hear that? Nope? Okay. Then I guess we won't play it. But he goes over the protection, and I will send it to you guys privately.
I think what this all goes to is how incredible of a defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo is.
Yeah.
And how no one hires him. Holy shit. Chris Jones said after the game, if you hire him, we'll stop winning. He said that. That's exactly what he said.
He did have his one stint, I think, with the Rams that was just terrible. And it just shows like maybe he's that DC. And that's why this has worked so well. Because I mean, really and truly, they made the Bills coaching staff look like toddlers. Like Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, what they did to McDermott.
On the bottom. Get the Eagles stuff out of here. Sorry.
what Andy Reid and Spagnuolo were able to do and how they made McDermott. McDermott's a defensive-minded coach, and yet the Chiefs score the most points they've scored all year off of them. Like I think, in my opinion, I really think McDermott's probably got to go. How many times are you going to run this back? Let me ask you this. If you're a Bills fan, which is more painful? You losing 4 straight times to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, or you losing 4 straight Super Bowls?
Super Bowls.
Probably the Super Bowls, but it's close.
Super Bowls.
And the other thing, if we remember way back when Mr. Patrick Mahomes got drafted out of Texas Tech, the Buffalo Bills traded that pick for Trey White, Zay Jones, and Tremaine Edmonds. You want to guess how many of those guys are still on the Bills?
Well, I'm right. Or zero.
Everybody wants to give the Bears so much shit for taking Mitch Trubisky. Yet, this is basically the modern day, I saw Nick Wright say it, it's a modern day Great Bambino situation, where literally they traded the pick to the team and they drafted the guy that is now completely doomed all your playoff hopes every single year. I mean, Burrow did it once.
And Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy was drafted to. Yeah, but he showed up. I mean, what Keon Coleman do? He was a no-show, and Xavier.
But he's not daddy.
It's Papa. It's not daddy. It's Papa.
He's daddy. He is daddy. He is Papa. He is Mr. Mahomes. He is. Let me bow down to you. That's what Buffalo and everybody in
Okay, the knees, bro. Get off the knees.
He's inevitable, dude. It happens.
I mean, did you guys? Let me ask you this: was it ever in doubt?
No.
Was it ever in doubt that the Chiefs would be here again?
No.
I mean, I picked the Bills, but when it stayed, Buffalo had a chance to put their foot on the gas when they were up, and when they didn't do that, I was like, hell no. And
it's
they
the Mahomes
fumbled.
Effect.
Yeah, I think he's in their head. I think he's just in their head.
Exactly. We saw it with Brady. We saw it with Tiger. We saw it with MJ. The other teams crack on. Like Dalton Kincaid does not make that catch. I think not in that moment. He's not thinking about Mahomes, but that's just inevitably in your mind. Like we have to go down and score because Mahomes is on that other side. That's one instance. I really, truly think he also elevates all the guys on his team. Like Xavier Worthy making that catch, whether or not you want to say it was or wasn't, look in the stat book, it was. Xavier Worthy making that catch, I think that is because of who Mahomes is and because of what he instills into his teammates. And I think that might go back a little bit to Josh Allen because there is that little bit of skepticism every time they go into the Chiefs. Well, we've never beaten them in the playoffs. So I think that really and truly affects a team and affects the clubhouse as a whole, knowing that you're going into this game every time against a guy that you've never beaten.
I guess it'll just take a NFC team with a young quarterback to come through in 2 Super Bowls and beat them. I volunteer the Panthers.
To the Panthers?
I'm volunteering the Panthers.
Oh,
I'll take
God.
the Vikings, JJ to JJ. Let's do it.
Please, an NFC team do it. I think once one team, it was kind of like the Patriots. When the Patriots felt unstoppable, and then like Peyton Manning started winning the AFC, he won the AFC Championship. Joe Flacco, like there was
5 of 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, not a downfall of the Patriots, but it was more of like it was different because it was like other people have done it. Like now it's like nobody. I feel like once that one time an AFC team does it, it's gonna change a lot.
This is the greatest 3-year stretch in NFL history, and there's no denying it because every team that has gone back-to-back has never gotten to the Super Bowl to try and win it a third time. It's never happened. The other thing that I think just shows how brilliant of a mind Andy Reid and this coaching staff and just the Chiefs as a whole are, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games in the regular season against the Bills with an average of 20 points per game. I guarantee that they go into every game against the Bills and they're sitting there saying, well, we don't need to go in here and play our best game. Let's take notes on what they're doing. And if we win, we win, but it is what it is. And they hold in everything because they know that they're going to play them again in the playoffs, and that's where they go ahead and do it. Mahomes, 2 rushing touchdowns and a read option for a 10-yard run inside the red zone for a touchdown.
Yeah, I've never seen them run that play.
And then Samaje Perine doesn't touch the ball all game until the last play of the game. You mean to tell me that this wasn't just stored and ready to go? They didn't showcase any of that when they were in Buffalo. None of it. And there's a reason for it. And there's a reason why they average 11 more points a game in the playoffs against the Bills compared to the regular season.
We make fun of coaches every year who are like, oh, we're saving our book for the playoffs. We're saving our book for the playoffs. But, like, it's true for the Chiefs every year.
Yeah, it really is.
They do something in a big game every single year that, like, is that play on a 4th and 1. Who was it against? A few years back, they did something where they ran like a little loop around on the side for like a 4th and 1 to ice the game. There's just always a play from the Chiefs playoffs that, like, we've never seen this before, and then it's a staple of that game. You just remember it 5 years later.
So what do defenses do, though? So what do you do as a coaching staff? Yeah, but, like, somebody has to be – it's going to happen. I guess you just have to have a special defense.
You got to have Tom Brady. Or Joe Burrow, I guess.
I mean, Patrick's the greatest now, dude.
Let me throw this at you real quick. Since the start of 2019 season, the Chiefs have had 11 playoff drives in the 4th quarter or overtime when down by a score. Here's how they did. 7 touchdowns, 4 game-tying field goals. And since I know some of you will ask, 0 first downs by a penalty on all 11 drives.
Yeah, the rough stuff can be put to bed.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Mahomes' legs just showcases how that's just a completely different dynamic of his game that nobody ever really talks about, is how strategic of a rusher he is.
He looks so slow. He looks like he's running in quicksand. He's good at it. I'm not saying he's not.
Josh Lamar, you can run? Well, guess who can too? And now Josh, Lamar, and Joe can all have something to discuss in Orlando this week. Who lost 2022 AFC Championship? Oh, Joe, you did. Who lost 2023 AFC Championship? Oh, Lamar, you did. Who lost the 2024 AFC Championship? Josh, you did again? It's just incredible what he's done. And one of these quarterbacks is going to get over that. I know Burrow's done it, but can Burrow do it again?
Who would you guys say? because I still think that the Burrow thing was more of a defensive like masterpiece that entire postseason. Like Joe Burrow didn't have, I think he had like what 3 or 4 touchdowns the entire postseason. If you guys had to make a bet on which quarterback between Josh, Lamar, or Burrow gets over the hump first, which one do you think would do it?
You say over the hump, winning a bowl or going to the bowl?
Yeah, like beating Mahomes and going to the Super Bowl because it's going to be in. Yeah,
getting to where Burrow got.
Yeah, who is going to be? I guess, but
if Burrow gets back there, what does that mean for him though? You know, because like it's like you've already been here, and we talk about this. Like Jalen Hurts has lost a Super Bowl, and now he's going back. I think he's the only active quarterback that's lost a Super Bowl and is now returned to a Super Bowl. There you go. There's some Jalen Hurts credit. Come on, give it up. Give it up, you know?
I love Jalen.
I'm gonna go with Lamar. I think the Ravens' culture as a whole is championship football. I really do, and I think that goes from the top all the way down. I do. I think the Bengals are going to lose T. Higgins. I don't know how great their defense. I don't know how great their. Well, because he's going to Washington. I don't know how good. I don't know how good the Bengals defense is as well. And really and truly, what are the Bills going to do?
Because I was actually going to get to that, so I'll actually back you up on that. So I said the Bills won't get much better next year.
Right.
And they won't because they have $6 million over the cap next year. Their free agents, though, is what concerns me. Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, Matt Collins, Ty Johnson, who is big down the stretch, and DeMar Hamlin, who was a starting safety, not a Make-A-Wish, starting safety. I don't know what they do because they have all this money. I was looking at their cap space. Their second highest player is Von Miller with a $23 million cap hit. I don't know what I know last year they got rid of pieces, but now you got rid of pieces, and now the pieces that replace those pieces are leaving. So how do you combat that? I'm actually worried about Buffalo. I think this was, if they were going to do it, it was the same with Baltimore. If Baltimore was going to do it, it was last year, not this year. If the Bills were going to do it, it was this year, not next year.
I mean, they have to get better at the receiver position. Have to.
I don't think that's the problem. I just don't think.
I don't know, man.
I think they have to go all in on defense. I think if Sean McDermott is this defensive mastermind, they stand by Sean McDermott. You have to get him the pieces, and that's how you beat Mahomes. I mean, Lamar. The only reason, the closest, in my opinion, I mean, it was only a 1-score game last year. You have to. It's crazy because both of the games were similar but different. Like last year, the Ravens were spectacular defensively, lost by 1 score. This time, Buffalo was pretty good offensively and kept up, and they still lost by 1 score. So it's like you have to be perfect on all phases, and I guess you just trust Josh Allen and hope your defense makes a couple stops. That's the only thing I can think of.
Speaking of defense, did you guys see Christian Benford get that concussion? And he was just cleared from concussion protocol on like Thursday or Friday. So I'm starting to wonder if, because it's a playoff game, we just they're completely cleared, even if they're not ready to go because it's a playoff game. Because he took 1 hit and then was out for the rest of the game, and Kyer Elam came in for him. Like I just really worry about the safety of these guys in these big time games because they're really and truly risking their bodies, they're putting their bodies on the line in these games, and they don't give a shit what the doctors are going to tell them. If the doctors are telling them, hey, you probably shouldn't go because you're still hurt, they don't care. If I can get out there, I'm going to get out there. Are you going to let me go out there? Okay, then I'm going to go out there. And that was just one thing that I saw that I was like, was he actually cleared, or is it because it was a playoff game?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a concussion expert scientist. I do know once you have one, it's so much easier to get another one.
Shout out Tua.
Yeah. That's just kind of how it works. I also feel like some dudes are just like get hit in the head magnets. Like it's just kind of how it is.
It is really true. Also, the Chiefs just won their 17th straight one.
Oh my God! The glazing, dude. We can glaze a little bit.
Absolutely, dude. Okay, but at some point, like, I'm gonna sit here and continue to do it because of what you just said. Somebody's got to beat them, but nobody's doing it. So what else are we gonna talk about?
So I didn't hear Noah. Noah, who do you think would beat them realistically?
As teams are set now,
like organization wise, quarterback, like the staples that these teams have, head coaches.
Like like, I just haven't seen anything from anyone to make me think they can. I mean, I really like how the Chargers play football, and
I was about to say, can we throw Herbert in here?
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're good enough right now, but I think if they get some pieces, like the way they play football and that culture we're talking about, I think Harbaugh brings that to the Chargers, and you've got the quarterback that's good enough. You've kind of got the run the ball defense.
I think that division is getting. I mean,
yeah, like I like
the
Broncos,
Raiders and Pete
man.
Carroll
Like,
is
Hopefully,
is
they
what it
can
is.
start beating on them in the regular season to make it tougher on them
That's
down
what
the
I mean.
stretch.
That's what I'm talking about why they go into these games against the Bills and other, quote unquote inferior opponents in the AFC, because they know that they've got their division locked up. They know where the other teams are fighting for their division or fighting for spots in the playoffs. They know every year that they're going to win their division, so they have games that they can just give to the other team. I don't want to necessarily say give to the other team, but they don't have to showcase everything in a game to win a game because it isn't pivotal for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to see it over and over again. It gets boring, but at the same time, as a hate watch Tom Brady fan, I don't mind watching Patrick Mahomes get to another bowl, man. I hope he passes Tom Brady, so I don't really care.
I think he has. I honestly, like, it's as crazy as it sounds, he is the greatest football player I've ever seen. And
he does it now.
Yeah, I mean, if he three-peats, that's something Brady has never done. And
Nobody
yeah,
has.
Brady beat him in the Super Bowl. But if you look at it, like, the Chiefs were terrible with their offensive line. They weren't built to beat that team. So I don't know. And that loss wasn't on Mahomes. Neither was the AFC title game. So, like, I think Mahomes did enough in both of those games where I'm like, it's kind of a wash for me. I don't think the head-to-head really makes a move for me or a difference.
I'm telling you, if he three-peats and gets to 5 or 6, he's my goat.
Well, he'll be at 4 if he three-peats.
Yeah.
And you're starting to talk not only about football, you're talking athlete ever.
No.
Like, it's
athlete ever?
Wayne Gretzky, bro.
Gretzky's up there because of those numbers, but I'm talking about just from a pure championship winning perspective. It's MJ, it's Tiger, it's Brady, and he's right up there.
I don't know.
would say.
I think Gretzky's like the undisputed sport goat.
Yeah, I know.
It's
real quick. My favorite Gretzky stat. You know the stat I'm going to talk about is
I know
his
exactly
point
what you're going
stats,
to say. It's why
where
he's the goat.
if you take away all his assists or you take away all his goals, he still has more assists than anybody has points, which is goals and assists.
Yeah,
absolutely
points
absurd.
in the NHL is a goal or an assist, so that's what they count as points. He's the all-time point leader. You can take away every single goal he has ever scored, and he's still the all-time point leader.
That's actually insane.
Absurd.
I'm not a big hockey guy, so I didn't know that stat.
Yeah, it's a nuts stat.
It's one of those like Cal Ripken's record that'll never, really and truly will never be touched. Also, I want to give this quick plug. Oppenheimer is 3 hours long, so if you're looking for something to do from 6:30 to 9:30 on February 9th, you can join me in watching that because I am not excited for this Super Bowl.
You're not going to be watching it, man?
Let me talk about that real quick. I think this will be the highest rated watch Super Bowl of all time. People are going to say they're not going to. Dude, everybody's like, oh, I hate the Super Bowl matchup. Dude, the last time these two teams played, people forget this isn't Niners.
I wanted to
Chiefs.
gouge my eyes out.
Dude, it was 38-35.
I don't
we
care.
had
It's
a
teams.
Mahomes and Jalen Hurts masterclass, and now we have Saquon. We got stars everywhere. I think.
Shout out Bradbury.
And you guys are underrating how much these Philly fans are going to be tuning in. I just don't. I don't know. So who do you guys want to win though? Are you guys okay with the Chiefs?
Patriots.
Yeah,
Super Bowl that was like 2-3 or whatever it was.
13-3. I said after the first possession, there was 13:03 left. I said this is gonna be the worst Super Bowl of all time. Sure enough, the coin flip was the most exciting part.
Who do I want to win? Or what?
Yeah, I'm curious because I saw a tweet. I'll try and find it while you guys discuss this, but as our last thing. But somebody said that this is an okay time, the only time ever you can be guilt-free and watch Mahomes and actively root for him. Do you guys agree with that statement?
I'll give you my entire breakdown, okay? As a sports fan in general, what are the Eagles playing for? You know, like they've won recently, they've been competitive. So like historically nothing's going to happen from them winning this game. We have a chance to watch something that has never been done in NFL history before. Now, whether you like the Chiefs or not, I feel like that's pretty cool. I mean, like I was pulling for the Warriors when LeBron was down 3-1, but watching LeBron come back and the Cavs win that down 3-1 series for the first time ever in NBA history, pretty sick. So I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I don't hate them.
Yeah, it was Tommy Smokes, unfortunately, which
Hey, shout out Barstool.
yeah, it says everybody besides
See?
Eagles
Yeah.
fans should be rooting for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Chance to see history with a three-peat. Eagles are not the
That
lovable losers like the Bills. Just won the Super Bowl 7 years ago. Not a tortured fan base. This is your chance to root for Patrick Mahomes guilt-free.
Yeah,
It's kind of
100%.
spitting, honestly. Everything about
No,
that is
that,
true.
that line that says Eagles are not lovable losers like the Bills. That's it right there.
They're not lovable
Like this-
anything.
If you're an unbiased fan and you're rooting for that shithole of a city in this
Okay, bro.
situation,
Dude,
But
stop.
what about what
God.
about like a?
People from Philly are going to show up and beat
But
my ass.
I root for an
why?
AFC
It's me.
team.
I'm the one that's saying it. I
Yeah,
wear
but-
that on my sleeve.
But I
Come at
root
me.
for an
Bring it,
AFC
bring it.
team. I don't want to see the Chiefs do it again. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't really care. Philly doesn't affect me. The only thing I don't like is their fan base. But, like, I won't have to hear it. Like,
they
it doesn't
win-
matter
if
to
they
me.
If they win, we're going to get another video of an Eagles fan eating horse poop in the streets.
I'm fine with I think that's legendary content because
Well, why?
they
Because if
look
we
like
tell
idiots.
If we tell Eagles fans to eat shit, they're going to actually do it. Yeah, that just embodies who
Exactly.
they
That's
are.
what that makes it
Ugh.
legendary for me. It's like, dude, you guys are dumb as shit, and you guys will do it. Like, it makes you look dumb. Like, that's fine.
Nah,
You're
I'm
just
I'm with Noah here. I've gotten over it. I'm like, you know what? At some point, I just got to embrace it. And why should me being a Vikings fan? Why should I have any animosity really toward the Chiefs? If it was against like for instance, they played the Texans in the AFC divisional. Yeah, I was rooting for the Texans. Why not? I want the upset.
Yeah,
there.
that's cool. Lower
This
seed.
time, I was probably rooting for the. I think I was rooting for the Bills, but like, I like Lamar, and it's why it was like I don't know if I really want Josh to win, but also because like I was like how like watching that game transpire last night, I was like we're just having these controversial calls, and that's all anybody's going to talk about. And I'm like the Bills have had multiple opportunities to win this game. Also, if the Chiefs get either of those turnovers, it ends up being a 2-possession game because they end up probably getting a touchdown or a field goal when the Bills got a touchdown or a field goal by recovering their own fumble. So then that's not even a conversation. I've just gotten to the point where it's like, yep, you know what? If they three-peat, it's the greatest run in sports, in NFL history, and one of the greatest in sports history. And you know what? Good on them. I mean, what have they really done that's so bad? Like Brady, you know, the Deflategate or the Spygate or the Tuck Rule, whatever you want to talk about. What have the Chiefs really done that's been just so agonizing and so barbaric and so against the game? Like they really haven't done anything.
Patrick
They just
Mahomes'
win.
family is annoying, apparently.
Yeah, that's it. It's all.
And
It's
Taylor
all.
Swift
I mean,
is
his
there.
dad. I mean, his dad
Taylor
does
Swift
have
thing.
like multiple DUIs. Jackson Mahomes is a sexual assaulter, so I mean, there's a couple reasons why you don't like the family other than
But that's
Taylor
not the
Swift.
players.
I'm saying that.
That's
yeah,
not the
That's what I'm
players.
saying. Like,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
hate
I
the
agree,
family.
I
I'm just
agree.
saying, like, his family's annoying. Yeah, that sucks.
I just don't
Yeah.
understand the disdain toward the players. I mean, I can understand Travis Kelce because he's with Taylor Swift, and like, yeah, that whole thing is extremely aggravating. But like, outside of that, what else is there to really hate on them? Look at Andy Reid. I would love for him to beat his former team. They kicked him out of town, kicked him to the curb, and for him to beat him twice in a Super Bowl would just be chef's kiss.
Tom Brady kisses his kids on the lips.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's why I hate
That's
him.
pretty bad. I think that's a great place to stop. All right. Thank you guys for listening to the Career Podcast Show. I'm Matt, Noah, Tyler. Thank you guys so much for coming on again. Next week will be all Super Bowl talk. I didn't want to give predictions or anything else. I kind of want to say, but I need like a week to think about it and actually watch. But
Break down the
my
Pro Bowl.
early lean is against the Chiefs. But I'm thinking, why don't we all just take the mortgage out and just bet on the Chiefs? I mean,
Public
if we
is
lose,
going to be on the Eagles. I will tell you that right now.
Well,
The whole public's going to be.
if
betting
they
against
lose, we can come back on here and say we're broke, we have no house, but we
Please
lost
follow.
because of Mahomes.
Please
I'll,
follow.
I'll
and
let you
repost.
take that.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys and have a great rest of your week.